Let's have an honest conversation here. Why is the bar for men so low in our society today? I was just doing the dishes and, I just happened to be scrolling on TikTok and I feel like just the bar, just for like whenever I was a kid versus now, is just like it has gone down so much. And I hear this from women, men, sometimes my mother, my grandparents. And before anyone like gets defensive about this isn't an attack, okay? This is more so of an observation. If you're a man who already holds himself to a high standard, this won't really offend you. You know what I mean? Like you know who you are, okay? But if it does offend you, you might want to ask why. Think about this for a second. A man takes his child to the grocery store alone, and people will go out there and say like, "Oh wow, what a great dad," like it's just like not normal, or it's like out of the norm or something like that. A man can cook dinner once a week or twice a week, and he's quote unquote husband of the year. A boyfriend responds consistently, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't cheat. He holds the door for you. He'll open your car door before he even gets in his car, and he will remember your birthday or your anniversary. And suddenly he's quote unquote rare. He's one of the good guys, right? He's one of the good men out there. And I was just like, this sounds like the bare minimum to me. You know what I mean? And we're celebrating that stuff. So why is basic functioning being treated like exceptional performance nowadays? Because somewhere along the line, the standard for us men shifted and not upward. It definitely went down throughout time. Okay. And I want to start with how boys are socialized nowadays. From a young age, boys are often taught strength without emotional depth, if you know what I mean. I'm talking about don't cry, man up, be tough. You know what I'm saying? We've heard that kind of stuff growing up as men. Vulnerability gets shamed in the men's spaces. Emotional expression gets minimized. And what do we get really? Like grown men who don't know how to communicate their feelings, who will shut down during conflict, who struggle with intimacy, not because they're evil, but because they were never taught these things, right? Or let's say they were even taught these things, right? They went all in on the, production and the career aspect of things that they never really had time to address or to even work on the emotional parts of their lives or themselves. Meanwhile, girls are often socialized to nurture, to anticipate needs, to smooth over the conflict, to communicate, and to take emotional responsibility. So we grow up and expect women to manage the emotional climate of relationships while men get praised for quote unquote trying. Okay. And when a man does the bare minimum, like listening to them like attentively, helps clean the place without being asked, plans the date without promoting, pays for the date. It looks extraordinary in comparison, right? Like I get it, but let's keep it real. Let's keep it a buck, guys. That is not extraordinary. It's adulthood. Okay, we're being adults here. Now, let's talk about accountability. There are men who can build businesses, dominate in their careers, optimize their workouts, track macros, learn complex skills, but somehow in the mix of all that, somehow I'm just not good at communication. That's what they say, right? When they say that, it becomes some kind of exceptional excuse because they're just so good at everything else, right? You're telling me you can analyze stock trends and fantasy football stats, but you can't learn how to express your emotions. Come on. That is not inability. That is prioritization. Okay. Like we have to be there has to be a balance here. If a man is financially stable and not abusive, he's often considered a catch in our dating marketplace. But financial contribution and basic decency are foundational. They're not elite equalities. These are things that we have to have as men at the bare minimum. And here's something important: the low bar doesn't just hurt women, it hurts men as well. It implies that men are emotionally incompetent. It implies that men are naturally irresponsible. It implies that men cannot be equal partners. It also implies that men are wired to be careless unless supervised. That is insulting, okay? That is insulting to us men that are trying out here, that are worth a damn. There are men who are emotionally intelligent, lead with integrity, men who take ownership of their growth, men who actively work on their communication, and men who show up consistently, not just when it's convenient, but they show up when it's tough as well. But those men don't really get praised for breathing. They just live at a higher standard. And here's the uncomfortable part. If you are a man watching this and you're thinking, well, I don't cheat. I don't, I go to work. I help sometimes. What more do you want from us? That's the point I'm trying to make. If not cheating is your biggest selling point, your bar and your standard as a man is literally under the ground. Partnership is more than presence. Leadership is more than just how much money you make or your income. And love is more than not being a terrible human being and a menace to society. Okay. It is emotional availability, it is consistency, it is initiative, it's growth, it's being able to sit in discomfort without shutting down or exploding at the other person. It's contributing without being managed. And let's also be honest about something else too while we're at it. Sometimes the bar stays low because it is accepted, if you know what I mean. Like if someone keeps rewarding low effort with loyalty, forgiveness, praise, and unlimited patience, why would the standard change? Does that sound familiar? I'm talking like when I say that, I'm talking about when women take men back whenever they cheat on them, abuse them, do them wrong. If you were going to reward that kind of man with loyalty, sex, even, and patience and all that stuff, I promise you that man will never change. Why would he change if he's getting all these things by doing the bare minimum? Less than the bare minimum, if he's doing worse, why would he change if he's still getting what he wants? He's not going to do that. And it's the same exact thing on the other end too. If you're a man and you have this woman cheating on you and doing and embarrassing you in public, on the internet, and all these things, and you're still talking about forgiveness, you're giving her patience, you're loyal to her, she's not going to change either. She's still going to cheat on other guys, and you're going to be that guy in the corner while she's sitting there having her way with another man. That's just how it's going to go. Standards rise when expectations rise, okay? But raising your standards doesn't mean demanding perfection. It means maturity, it means expecting growth, it means expecting effort that matches words as well. I think that we have created a world where men are praised for their ambition in businesses, but not in their relationships. I'm talking about where grind culture is celebrated, right? No sleep, work all day, every day, lock yourself in a room until you make $1 million. Y'all already know the drill. We've heard these things, right? And these things are celebrated. But emotional development is optional, apparently. Where a man will spend hours in the gym sculpting his body, but never spends 20 minutes reading about emotional regulation. And then we act surprised when relationships fall apart everywhere. Strength is not just physical, guys. Discipline is not just financial, and leadership is not just external, okay? Real strength is self awareness, real discipline is controlling your reactions. Real leadership is taking responsibility for your impact. Okay. The bar is low because too many men were never required to rise emotionally, only externally, you know? But I think there's a, hopeful part in all of this. I believe that this stuff is changing in real time. I believe that, I'm seeing more men go to therapy. I see more men, learning their communication skills. More men are breaking generational curses and generational patterns, and more men are redefining masculinity in a more healthier way, you know? And I really like that, people are, especially men, are seeing these things and deciding that, hey, I'm gonna do something about this. I'm gonna change because this is not healthy for me. And those men, they don't really complain about the bar being too high. They welcome it. We love a challenge as men, okay? Because high standards create high quality lives. And when you are living a high quality life, when you have a high quality standard, all that negativity, all the unhealthy habits and environments, if you're truly committed to becoming a higher standard of yourself and living a high quality life, all the bad stuff will naturally just flush its way out. It will naturally go away. You won't have to do anything. I'm talking about friend groups, social circles, all that stuff. Like everything just goes away quicker than you imagine, actually. If you want to stand out as a man today, you don't really need to be perfect, okay? You just need to be intentional. Most people are going around their life doing the same exact thing instead of asking themselves why they're doing what they do. Is working harder on this certain thing will get me closer to where I want to be in life? Like people don't really think about that. We as men need to learn how to communicate without defensiveness. We need to apologize without ego whenever it's time to. We need to handle conflict without stonewalling, I guess you could say. We need to take initiative in the home, be consistent when it's convenient, work on our mental health, more importantly, and we need to lead ourselves as well before trying to lead anyone else. Okay. If you can't take care of your own life, what makes you think you're going to be able to take care of a girl, let alone some kids? You know what I'm saying? You need to show yourself and other people, but more importantly, yourself, that you can lead your own life in all aspects financially, physically, mentally, spiritually. You need to make sure you can lead all those things on your own life before you try to worry about another person. Now, the bar may be low, but I'm here to tell you that you don't have to live there. Okay. And if you are someone watching this who feels tired of low effort, whether it be within yourself or within your circle or people around you, raise your standards calmly, raise them calmly and clearly, not with like bitterness. Don't like just be so quick to block people or cut people off, but do it with boundaries because when the bar rises, everyone benefits. I'm talking about stronger relationships, stronger families, stronger men, women, and communities. Okay. So instead of asking why is the bar so low for men, maybe the better question about all this is who's willing to raise the bar? Who's willing to raise the standard? And more importantly, is it going to be you? Are you willing to do that? Guys, I hope you enjoyed this little yap session that I did. If you want to check out my other channel called Virtual Relations, it'll be a link in the description to where I just kind of give compilations and stuff like that on what Americans are going through in society today, whether it be cost of living, mental health, and all other aspects. I also plan on doing public interviews as well very soon once the weather gets warmer. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll see you next time.